Gentlemen, welcome to Hood Canal Brewery.
Thank you.
Great seeing you, Don. Thank you. Come on in.
Well, thank you.
Start with the Dosey Wallops.
There we go.
Yeah.
So that's a great name. Tell us about it.
Okay. Dosey Wallops, obviously, well, maybe not obviously, it is a river that's on the Olympic Peninsula. It's an area that I used to go hiking in. So anyway, it's a real light beer. It's a good session beer. Goes good with food, but it still has a nice light flavor. Let's just keep going across and try the amber, Agate Pass Amber. The Agate Pass Amber was one of my first beers that I produced, and has a nice body to it.
That is
nice
delicious.
color. Yeah,
I have to tell you, this is beautiful because a lot of ambers are kind of mediocre, but this is beautiful. It's rich. It's velvety. It's got nice hops. There's almost like some kind of nut in there. I really like it.
the amber, we have another amber that is called Hood's Head. Hood's Head is another spot in the Hood Canal. And I also wanted to make an amber where we've used some smoked grain, and we end up with a pretty good product that really in the grocery stores is doing really well for us.
This is a world-class beer, and my favorite so far. Of course, I had some last night.
Yeah. Smoking is good.
Exactly, so
Right.
we're done. I
So-
love that beer. What shall we go through next?
Then we have the IPA, it's Daybog Bay IPA. Again, Daybog Bay is part of the Hood Canal. And I've tried to name all my beers after different places on the canal. The Daybog Bay is an IPA that has a nice body to it. That was one of the things that I wanted when I first designed it, was to make sure that I had an IPA that had a nice body to it. I didn't want the hops to be so overpowering that it would shy people away. It's one of our most popular beers for people that come into the tasting room.
It's a really nice, well-balanced beer. Yeah.
The termination, it has a lot of complexity to it because it has a lot of different grains. So that it's a pretty complex IPA. And the alcohol content is up in that one as well. It has a lot of grain in it.
It's not sweet, but it's sweet, not sugar sweet.
Well,
It's beautiful.
It's got a rich grain flavor to it, and so it's a big beer. Next, we have the South Point Porter. We split our dark beers into two halves of the year. The porter covers the fall and winter, and our stout covers the spring and summer. It's a nice beer. It's one of my favorites. When I'm in the mood for a dark beer, that's my go-to beer. Yeah, it's not terribly roasted. Not over the top with the roasted grain. The hops are backed off on it, so you're getting more of the mouthfeel of the grain, and then obviously got the color.
And the next we have is the
Breidelbeck barley wine. Now that one again, it's a big beer. It's called a barley wine. It's not wine. It's a style of beer, and they're a pretty big beer. A lot of people make their barley wines so that they're very hoppy. Mine's not. It's more of a big, smooth, dark beer. Not as dark as the porter.
elegant for being such a big beer.
The last beer that we have to taste today, I've left it for the end because it's a mix of two of my beers. We've mixed the barley wine and the Dave Bob IPA. When I first started making it, I'd drink it after I got done brewing, and I'd ask the person working behind the tasting room counter to give me a 50-50. And so they'd pour half barley wine, half IPA, and hand it to me. One of my customers complained that was a really boring name for a beer. And so out of the people that were sitting at the counter, they came up with the name Bob Barley. And that's how we got the name. And it goes well with the two different beers that we've put in it. The beer's been around for a while.
Sumeria.
Yeah, so I suspect it will be fun.
I've known Mark, the brewmaster, for years, and he's a perfect combination of passion and intelligence and diligence, and he's just an amazing man. I can't wait to taste his new beers.
He's allowing us to come in during the construction phase.
We're lucky boys.
We are lucky boys. And what I understand, he's putting some stuff in the can right now.
Yeah, let's check that out.
Hey, how you doing? Good. Welcome to Echoes. Cheers.
So what exactly does this do?
So what you do with this, instead of just cracking the grain and then letting the water get to it and the enzymes do their work, you grind it all the way to fine powder with a hammer mill. It's like flour, and it's just a mash mixer. Our total mash is 20 minutes. Then we pass it through the mash filter. This mash filter, every single plate fills up. And then there's air bladders that squeeze out everything afterwards.
Oh, just like a press on a wine press.
Exactly. And these things pull open and you end up with dry, powdered grain at the end. And the best part about it is we get 99% extract from our grain. A good brewery extract is 80, 85%, and we're getting 99, even sometimes 100%. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So it's a pretty neat way to brew. So it's a really nice way to scale. Extremely efficient. You also use a lot less water. So here's the brew house, and we've got the big giant tall one is the hot liquor ton.
Right.
And that holds 45 barrels. So that's really sized so that we can do 3 batches in a row.
Yeah.
And I can heat 45 barrels of water in that thing. I turn on the boiler at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm ready to brew at 8.
My favorite part.
All right, I'm gonna trade some beers here.
Yeah. Well, what shall we start with?
Well, let's start with a new one for me. It's a Rauch beer. So, you know, the beers of Bamberg in Germany. They think that most German-style beers, particularly, and most beers of Europe, had a smoky quality to them because the only way they knew how to dry the malt was over fire.
Right.
And then Pilsner or Kell were one of the first to figure out how to dry the malt and have light malt. And at the same time, they got rid of the smoke. So Bamberg decided to keep that. And what I did, I got a beer from Ochschlenkerla that just came out called the Lenten beer, or Fasten beer. I think they've changed the name.
For Lent.
It was made for Lent. So it was much milder on the smoke than a lot of the Rauch beers. And I thought that would be better for the American palate. Something a little subtler, good smoke quality, a little bit sweet on the palate, like dark malts, but not overpoweringly smoky. So that's what we did to this. So you end up with a nice clean dunkel.
Pretty color.
Yeah, it looks like a dunkel. Basically tastes like a dunkel. All the malts in here are dark. There's no light malts in here. I'm giving myself a short one since I've had it. And it's dark Munich. But as you can see, the color works good. It's clear. All dark malts in it. But no big roasty malts. So it's all done with dark malts. And the smoke is subtle.
Pick up the smoke, but it's not overpowering. It's not dominating. It's just a component in the whole.
Yeah, and you get the nice sort of sweet, dunkel-y malt character too coming through. And this is only 5%. And I don't do many beers in that range, so I wanted to do something interesting.
Whoa. I normally spit, but I had to swallow that. That's delicious. I've never had anything quite like it.
Nice and smooth. Tastes like a lager.
So beautifully balanced, and yet you got smoke on the finish and smoke on the nose initially.
Yeah.
Yep. I love it.
And it's if you could say this about a smoke beer, it's sort of refreshing. You can picture this on a backyard barbecue real easily.
Oh yeah.
This is a double IPA. It's called the Wave. It's Galaxy and Citra hops. And we just canned this like 10 minutes ago, or you just had it on film?
Oh man, this is the freshest beer I've had in a long time.
And again, look at the carb level that you get from the canning there.
Oh, look at that beautiful head. Yeah. And we still got those tiny bubbles coming out. Tiny bubbles.
This beer has
nice.
Also has rye, quite a bit of rye.
Really? Oh, that is so beautiful.
You know, there's something to be said for an old school double IPA that's just, it is sort of old school these days, but it's a good old school.
It's a classic, is what it is. And this is so beautifully balanced. I love it. You get the Citra up front, but you get the mosaic.
A Galaxy,
at the finish.
Yeah.
And it's got a beautiful bitter finish, but rich, ripe mouthfeel. I love this beer.
All right, so let's move on to the Belgians.
I love Belgium.
So this is the Golden Blonde. Reason it's called the Golden Blonde was because in making it, it turned out to be a little darker than a blonde. And I started calling it a Golden Blonde just because that's what it looked like.
Yeah.
And we decided to like the name. So it does have a little coriander, but not enough, I think, to actually pull out the distinct flavor. We used to centrifuge. This is not centrifuge. This is all naturally bright. So when people tell you the hazy beers are unfiltered, tell them that's just a bunch of hype. This is unfiltered. That's unfiltered.
You don't
you don't need to filter to clarify. Little hints of coriander.
Yeah, I picked that up right in the mid palate, but it's got such a ripe, rich mouthfeel, and yet it's not heavy at all.
But it's
like slipping into a silk bathrobe. I'm telling you, it's so beautiful in texture on the palate. I love it.
And again, the natural carbonation, just you can't match that. Just the nice little fine, tiny bubbles. This is not what I would call a Belgian ale. It's a Belgian-American hybrid. And the reason why is that no Belgian brewer would ever put this much American hops in here. So, then I guess that's the indiscretion, the monk's indiscretion. And you end up with a beer that smells like no other. You can pretty much tell Monk's in a glass from anywhere. And it's 10%. Drinks like an 8% or 7%, but it's 10%. It's a full 10%.
It's so beautiful on the palate. I mean, it's just, oh my goodness.
So this beer won 2 awards in the U.S. Beer Open. It won a gold medal 2 years in the Anything Goes category because they didn't have a category for it.
They didn't have a category. This has been so incredibly knowledgeable and fun, and I've always had so much respect for you, even more now.
Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate it. Thanks for coming, guys. It's been fun.
Welcome to Marrowstone Vineyards.
I love Marrowstone Vineyards. Well, since everything starts in the vineyards, why don't you show us what you have here?
Sure, come on down. Let's go take a look.
I just love Marrowstone. It's a beautiful island. The fact that we can get great wine here too, I mean, can't do better than that.
We're very lucky to be here on Marrowstone Island and live in such a picturesque setting. Really thrilled to be here. I mean, this is my office. So
well, these vines look like they've been here about 8-10 years?
Correct, yes. So they're about 10 years old. And, you know, it's not like growing on the other side of the state. This is a much more mild climate.
It's the maritime AVA, and so it doesn't get hot.
No, it does not. It does not. But all this being said, when we do get a harvest out of here, the wines are very unique, great minerality due to our terroir and our glacial till soil. So, I mean, we have rocks in there, and that all puts off great minerality to these vines.
I love that. And so you probably have low enough yields to pick up that terroir.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then we make the wine, and we bottle, label everything right here on site.
Well, why don't you show us where that magic happens?
Sure, come on up. And what I'll do when I rack, when I pull all the wine out for my natural fining process, because all my wines are minimal intervention. Yes, I don't fine, I don't filter my red wines. So I'll blend all those different oak profiles together, giving the wine just some different oak nuances.
Now that's a nuance that hard to come by.
Yeah.
You have a hell of a palate. So.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Well, maybe we should try some of the stuff in the glass.
I think we should go do some tastings.
Right.
Let's do it.
Let's go, guys. This is my favorite part. I have to admit, I absolutely love tasting.
So what are we going to start with?
Well, first of all, this is where all the hard work ends up, right here in the bottle. And I think it needs to be said that there's so much that goes into our end result and what goes in the glass. And this is also one of my favorite parts, where I get to share this with the consumer and let them know my passion and kind of my thoughts behind wine. We're going to start with my White Rhone blend. It's 40% Viognier, 40% Roussanne, and 20% Marsanne. So kind of an interesting blend, you bet. So.
And those are some of my favorite grapes, especially the Marsanne. Oh, nice. No. Oh.
Thank you very much.
We're talking pear bomb, apricot. Wow. Oh my God. Beautiful acidity. That's where some people fail on this kind of blend. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. Has to be a bright wine.
Complex, long finish going on and on. Still going on. Yeah. I have to tell you, this is beautiful. I love this wine.
So I'm pretty excited about this. We actually have not released this next wine. This is our wine club wine. So we're having a big wine club event here the next 2 weekends, and this is part of the release. So you guys get kind of a sneak peek at this one.
I love it.
It's a nice, bright French style rosé. Some really great strawberry flavors in there. And like you said, Mourvèdre is such an interesting, great varietal, and I can't wait to work more with it. Hence our GSM that's coming out next fall.
So how long is this on the skins?
You know, we did about 16 hours on the skins with this one. I was trying to go for a bit lighter. We also make a rosé of Pinot Gris, which you can tell the color difference here. This is only a matter of about eight hours difference in color, and you can see how much darker the rosé of Pinot Gris is. So.
I love this. The acidity is delicate. It's got strawberries, but nothing slaps you in the face. It's also well integrated. This is a beautiful wine.
We really go for balance in our whites for sure. We want them to be bright, but yeah, you want to get those big flavors to them as well.
Great summer wine.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to move on to our cab.
You're known for your cab.
Yes, this cab is wonderful. So it's not going to be a huge, bold cab. I would call it more of an elegant cab. This comes from Lonesome Springs Vineyard as well.
Beautiful color.
Isn't that nice?
Ready.
You know, I had your wine at the old timber house. And what blew me away, I saw Marrowstone. When I saw Marrowstone in cab, I ordered a bottle. They poured the bottle, I tasted it, and I was back in Sonoma County. But all being said, I turned the bottle over. I didn't recognize the bottle. I turned the bottle over, and it said Marrowstone Island. And I go, hey, this guy's just my neighbor.
And that was the beginning of a great story.
Yeah, great product you put out.
Well, thank you so much. We just put a smattering of oak in there, and hopefully it bounces out perfectly.
Well, it does, because I feel the same. When you drink wine, you should be tasting the grape, not the wood.
Absolutely. This is 47% Cabernet Sauvignon, 24% Merlot, and I went really heavy on Petit Verdot for a nice, beautiful color and a little bit of tannin, extra tannins in there. It's 24% Petit Verdot.
That's huge.
Yes. Then we got 3% Malbec, 2% Cab Franc. So it's a Bordeaux blend.
It never surprises me.
Like I said, I want elegance in my wines.
Oh, that is gorgeous. Absolutely. And the color? I was afraid all that Petit Verdot might pop it out of balance, but I should have known. You did it beautifully.
Well, thank you.
The color. And Petit Verdot is known for having violets in the nose.
That's right.
And I actually picked up some.
That's what I love about this wine. You get that floral in the nose, but then you get the fruit on the palate. It's wonderful. Yeah, it's really nice. And it's funny when you're doing blends. It's amazing what 3% of Malbec will do to a wine, or 2% more Cab Franc. Even those small percentages can change the nuances of the wine, which is kind of cool to play with. So,
Well, it just means you have to have one heck of a palate to be able to do that blending.
it's a long day of work, I'll tell you. Yeah.
Yeah, got to roll yourself on.
Right. Yeah.
Does the word master blender come to mind?
So lastly, we're going to move on to the Petit Syrah. So like I said, I do that little co-fermentation with a bit of Viognier to this to give it that nice lift. This is really drinking well, coming into its own right now for sure. It's a 2018. It's wonderful, and I will continue to do this wine for as long as I'm making wine because it's one of my favorites.
It comes out on the product. It really does. I don't know if you've noticed, every time I come, which is probably every week right now.
It is every weekend, yeah, let's be honest. Yeah.
We are fans.
Yes.
That's the bottle, the first wine we have.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll either go to Milo or something else, but.
Right.
I expected that to be bigger, but the key word for you is elegance.
That's right.
Yeah. This is absolutely beautiful. I love your wines.
Well,
I'm just so happy that
thank
you
you.
allowed us to come here and show who you are.
Hey, I'm happy for you guys to be here. Thank you for coming back and spending some time here. It's enjoyable to have you. So yeah.
Well, here's to good wine and good winemakers.
Cheers.
Nancy, Bear, Philly.
See you.
How are you guys doing?
Doing great. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Hey, man. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Hey.
And hey.
Well, show us where the magic happens.
Okay. We want to welcome you. Alpenfire Cider. Alpenfire Orchards right here. Certified organic. The whole property here was forested like that, right there. So we did the pioneer thing, like I always say. We had 13 children, and when we got done, we had Philippe. Mainly because we had to eat most of them after they didn't do their work. So,
well, you know, America used to have a lot of apples brought over from England and Normandy and such, but then during Prohibition, as you well know, the Prohibitionists cut down all the cider trees, all the apple trees. And so we had a handful of varietals to choose from, and none of them were much good for making cider.
they had a real problem with apples in general as evil during the temperance movement there, and just saw this to be a way to put down the man that was working on the land, because there wasn't that much problem with a low alcohol cider compared to whiskey, and which the temperance movement, there were all these wives losing their husbands to whiskey, and they'd never come home at night. Like,
well, not only that, I read a description of a court case one time, pre-Prohibition, and they had a jug of whiskey, and it got passed around to the jury, to the lawyers, to the defendant, to the judge, and it kind of just made the round all the way through the proceedings. And I mean, it's a good way to deal with all that legal stuff.
I know.
I'm so excited to see inside. I love the outside.
Well, let's go
What do
take
you
a
have in
look.
here?
I thought we would walk right by our little tasting room here, and we'll come back there.
later. All right.
But first off, we'll take a little tour through our production facility. We use the tractor to dump loads of bins of apples on there.
Okay.
We sort them, wash them, push them in here, and then this thing's full of water and it's circulating like mad, and it gives them another wash, which is great. The apples come out really clean, and then they go up the auger. This gives them one final wash right
So
here
it's
as
spinning
they
and
go up.
raising them up as it goes.
Yeah. See, and it has a inside like a big Cuisinart blade.
Nice.
And then we just pull this guy out and build up what you call a cheese here, which is layers of boards and cloths. And so you've got your board, you put this big cloth on it, and this plops out just as much as you need to make that one cheese, and you fold over the edges and put another board on and build it up to about 14 layers. And then we spin it around here. This thing comes up against this and squeezes the juice out, and it just is all hooked up to a sump pump at this point down here and collects the juice, and it's a great little machine.
Why don't we taste some of these ciders?
Let's do that.
Welcome to Tasting Room.
I am so excited about this part. We've seen the orchard, we've seen the equipment. Now let's see
The final
finished product.
All
What are
right.
you going to start with?
All right. So I'm starting you with our Spark. This is our kind of an introductory cider. As you can tell, it's very fragrant, but it's sweet enough for that kind of beginning cider drinker that may be coming from a different world, but still thinks of cider as something sweet, something that is non-alcoholic.
This is a beautiful mouthfeel, rich, good acidity, and it lingers. I mean, it's got a finish, a sophisticated, elegant finish.
I would like to go for our Cortland. So we were talking about single varietals. So this is a wonderful eating apple, primarily.
Be different. No, it's
So-
unique.
We find this one reminiscent of a Sauvignon Blanc, like New Zealand specifically Sauvignon Blanc.
That green
They have those grapefruity, gooseberry.
Yeah. And it happened, that's what my son was named after. So it was like, we have to experiment with this apple. Initially bought it from our friends at Heirloom Orchards down in Hood River, another organic grower that we work with.
Oh, that's light on the palate, but very flavorful.
Yeah, kind of a good summer sessionable.
Yeah, I could drink that in hot weather all day long.
This is our Pirate's Plank. So Pirate's Plank.
Northwest name if I ever heard.
This is our estate blend of primarily early season bitter sharp with a little bit of bittersweet cider apples in it. It's bottle conditioned. It's oak matured for about 3 months. It's a very, very unique product.
There's a subtlety to the nose on this and your other bottle conditioned one that are similar.
Yeah. It's a very unique cider that...
Oh, this is evenly on all cylinders. Equally balanced, elegant. Initial attack is not overwhelming, but it's not pale. Mid palate just carries it on. Finish is still going on.
Yeah.
All living product in alcohol, which I don't know what it means. It's not bad, is it?
It's great.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's a good talking point.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
It's also very long lived. We've done a lot of vertical pours. It's always the ones that are 5 years old that people are like, oh, I love this one.
The bottle conditioning holds.
It really
and that's
holds.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And the fact that
And
it's not
tenants.
pasteurized.
Complex. In wine, at least, if you taste one flavor, then that's it. Sip of wine. If you taste one, then you taste another one in the finish, and then it moves into something else. That's complex. This is complex, and for me, that's really the test of whether a wine or a cider is really worthy of work. Excellent. Thank you for having us out. This has been a delightful experience, and I'm a fan. I'm a big fan now.
Well, thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.